Morning all. How are you all doing? Welcome to another Wednesday. Morning Ian, Christian, Kennelly, Neo, Martin, Virginia. How are we doing? Excuse me. We just had the news out for the pound. It's exciting. Our inflation is coming down, which is lovely. All good. Everybody's inflation is coming down. So everything's going the right way, which is good. Morning, Danny. How are we doing? So this morning I've just got out of Euro New Zealand. Just posted this one in the Telegram group, but just exited this one. Nice position. A bit of a long one, this one, but out now. Had an out on this previously, so nice, decent profit on this. So initial entry was back in October, beginning of October, 11th, so a month basically. Scaled in. Took that one off in profit, took that one off in profit. So banked about 1%-ish. Actually, it's a bit more than that. Actually, that's not right. What I put in the Telegram group, I put 2% net. It's actually more than that. It's about 1.25% banked there. Yesterday, I did an aggressive drawdown control position, which I said about, which is that one there, which I banked, and I banked 0.5% there. And I've just banked 1.1% this morning, 1% this morning. So about 2.5-3% overall in a month. Good. So out of that, yeah, 1% bank this morning. Banked 1.7% yesterday. US dollar yen. Got out of one of the yens yesterday. Too soon. Obviously, yesterday was ADR day. 162 we did on that one. So yeah, huge ADRs yesterday on that US dollar disaster. So got out of one of those. What else did I close out yesterday? Pound New Zealand. That was straight in, straight out. Can hardly see it. It's that quick. Straight in there, straight out there. Should have held that. That New Zealand dollar's really rallying today. US dollar yen got out of one. Euro New Zealand. That was the other ones I closed out yesterday. And I closed out an Aussie US. Yeah, that was a one in, one out. Straight in, straight out. Oh no, it wasn't. That's two entries, sorry. And flip short on that. So yeah, pretty good couple of days. So today we've had the pound news this morning. The CPI figures came out 1.1 under forecast. We haven't had much of a reaction to it this morning so far, but that doesn't mean we're not going to. So it is starting to roll over, as you can see. The New Zealand, this is New Zealand dollar, and this New Zealand dollar is on a mission today and yesterday. But yeah, pound is starting to roll over. We haven't had any ADR hits, so the reaction isn't as violent as it was with the US dollar yesterday with their CPI, but it is coming down. So it's all going in the right direction for the pound. What have I got on? Pound CAD, I've got in profit. I haven't put a target on that. Get with the bottom of that propulsion gap. Should be able to hit that today. Yeah, there we go. So that's news this morning. Obviously, the CPI yesterday for the US dollar, big drop on the US. That was lower than expected. But the market might be having a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to this, so not sure whether this US is going to rally back over the next couple of days. We'll see, but it all depends what happens with the PPI figures this afternoon. So this afternoon's main news is the PPI figures and retail sales for the US. If we get a load of negatives here, we're really going to drop that US, and that rally is going to start on the indices as well, I think. So we'll see. That's the important news this afternoon, 1:30 this afternoon. We got crude oil inventories later as well. Hopefully the market does the right thing and starts buying oil, which they're not at the moment. So that's today's news lineup. Overnight, we haven't had an awful lot. Traders add to Bank of England cut bets after CPI, 80 basis points priced into 2024. 80? A weird number. So that's 3 rate drops in 2024. So again, same thing. They're getting a little bit keen. We haven't heard from the Bank of England yet. We haven't heard from the Fed. So we need to wait and get some news from the central banks as to what their forecasts are for interest rates, rather than speculating. But that's what the market does. Overnight news, not a lot else. We had the wage index for the Aussie. There was nothing out of Japan last night. So radio silence now from Japan. Now that the US dollar yen is doing what they want it to, Swiss yen's just hit ADR. First ADR of the day on the Swiss yen. So now the US dollar yen is doing what they want to. They're shut up. So we haven't gone far yet, though. We've done a 50% retracement on that leg. So we need to see that happening before they really shut up. But if we do go above that high, obviously we will get another spike. So we'll see. So remaining short, I'm going to hold that one down into those lows. DAX so far today, we've got gap up situation. So we broke out highs yesterday. Obviously, all the US dollar all the indices rallied on the US drop. Obviously, the indices do the opposite to the currency. So we had a big drop on the US dollar. Therefore, all the US indices rose, which means that they'd set to purchase stocks. DAX obviously benefited from that as well. So big break up yesterday across the board on the indices, as we can see. So today, very difficult. We'll just have to wait and see. But we have got a gap fill short, very tight though, very small gap. Other than that, downside potential, this, even just to fill that propulsion gap is 125 ADR. So it's impossible to tell where this thing's going to go in any direction today. New Zealand dollar yen, 125 ADR. Looks like the yen's weakening a little. So yeah, an upside obviously on the DAX. We're coming into basically a balance. So anywhere. It could go absolutely anywhere today. So no point in forecasting anything really. Just hope we get a clean break today. Yesterday on the indices, I did 0.63%. So had a minute win on the DAX yesterday and a minute win on the US indices. I reduced risk on the US indices by 80% yesterday because of the spike. So I just had a little kind of a fun trade on it yesterday, but managed to bank some. So we'll see where we go today. Should be an interesting open today. We've got a potential gap fill, obviously, to do. Propulsion gap fill, but that's going to require some US dollar strength. We don't seem to have that so far today. So we'll see what happens. Morning, Bradley. Morning, Baggy, Gregors, Magnus, JC, Thought Feeder. Big footsie rally, is there? Morning, Outro. Morning, Dion. Morning, James. So ignoring if I zoom in, we can probably see slightly clearer price action. So obviously pre-market low. Why is that not trading? Oh, range is too small for the pre-market. So not taking the pre-market. 142. Ooh, fair bit of volume coming in today. So yeah, so looking at obviously levels today, pre-market high is really all you've got to go on at the moment. Upside, downside, we've got the gap fill area here, and then we've got these lows down here, which were the kind of buffer zone, if you like, after we had the spike. So when you're looking for support resistance today, all you can really do is look at that area there to the downside, which is that high and support. Could be anything in there, couldn't it, really? But ultimately, return to origin, which is beyond ADR. So we'll see where we go. But I'm going to take the 5-minute open today. Pre-market's too tight. There's no movement pre-market today. We'll see where we go. While we're waiting for that, we'll have a look at the FX markets. So we've had a couple of ADR hits so far this morning. We've got a load of weeklies to look at. So I'm not going to go through all the weeklies. It should be pretty obvious what's hit. It's Wednesday. It's mainly US dollar, yen. It's everything, basically. We've had movement everywhere, haven't we? We've had a micro yen intervention. We've had a huge collapse in the US dollar. The New Zealand dollar's rallied like a lunatic. Everything's gone mental this week. So these are all potential fundamental shifts that are happening. So the US dollar is the main world currency. When the US dollar moves, everything moves, because when there is a change in fundamental direction on the US dollar, they withdraw or add money into the US dollar, which means that when they're withdrawing it from the US dollar, they've got to put it somewhere else. When they put it into the US dollar, they've got to pull it out of somewhere else. So when you see things like the New Zealand dollar going crazy like it is at the moment, that's because they're pulling money out of the US dollar and putting it into the New Zealand dollar. So you just have to wait for it to calm down. These are all good mean reversion opportunities. As you can see, I've got a short on this one here. But these massive propulsion gaps you get formed by news sometimes never ever get touched again. So just bear that in mind. We target propulsion gaps because we know the market returns to them. But some propulsion gaps are caused by fundamental shifts in currencies. If there's a fundamental shift, that means that this is going that way now. So it's not coming back here. It could well do an A-shaped recovery and completely fill this within a week. We don't know. But just bear in mind, these quite often are left in place. So use closer targets, basically. But we'll see what happens. We don't know at the moment. So all of these potentially are weekly reversals, but they're all caused by 200, 300% ADR moves that we saw yesterday. So they're not really weekly hits. They're just one news event. So we'll look at the ADRs. Swiss yen. That's hit ADR already today. So this we seem to be having a little bit of weakness in the yen this morning. Not massive, but some things seem to be pushing fairly nicely against it. Let's just look at the Swiss franc. CAD Swiss coming down. Odd Swiss not going anywhere. Pound Swiss, you can't really tell. New Zealand Swiss. So this looks like it might be a bit more of a Swiss franc strength to actually this morning. So nice big move up on the Swissy. That's now extended above ADR, above RSI. I still got the EA turned off on all yen pairs at the moment. I am going to turn it back on again. I'm just waiting to see what happens with this US dollar yen move. I'm going to give it another week, really. So there's a short opportunity there on the Swiss yen. That's an ADR hit, RSI extension to the upside as well. So mean reversion, potentially come back down into the propulsion gap, retest this area here, or look for a 50% retracement on the move, which will be back down sort of into ADR to the downside today. DAX 5-minute range is in. This price action looks tiny, doesn't it, now, compared to that? Because of that massive spike. It's normal price action. It just looks really small. It's always difficult to look at a market after a move like that because you can't actually tell what's normal anymore. But there's your 5-minute range in. So it's 180, which is just over 10% of ADR. So quite a tight range today. Looks like it wants to try and press long at the moment, but we'll see. US indices are pressing long as well. So market looks like it wants to rally. Not triggered yet, though. So NASDAQ's breaking long. S&P, Dow, all trying to break long this morning. There you go. Long, NASDAQ. Sorry, DAX. So yeah, I mean, upside targets and stuff. You can't really target anything today. We got a propulsion gap out of that little accumulation there. We got a gap fill there. Pound New Zealand ADR. So we got a gap fill at 157.06. Which is kind of somewhere around about 3R. So that 2R target to the upside is before that little gap fill. That's the lower part of that propulsion gap we just looked at. So lower that propulsion gap is a micro gap fill, which has not been done. I mean, when you get them, when they're that old, you know, going back to September, that's orphaned. That's, you know, there's no unfinished business there. They've written that off. So, but that is a propulsion move. Again, it's really old. So, but got to have a target. So that'll do. So there is the Swiss yen. A nice reversal opportunity. Pound New Zealand. So this New Zealand dollar, really, they are piling into the New Zealand dollar. I got out of this yesterday because it was a nice, quick push back down, propulsion, support, 50% retracement. It was just a perfect target. Yeah, if you want confluence, that is a 50% retracement on fib. It's a previous resistance, and it's the top of a propulsion gap, which could potentially act as support. So straight in, straight out, job done. Collapse. So this New Zealand dollar is not stopping. Now the pound's just had negative news this morning with CPI. Obviously, this is dropping. The New Zealand dollar's rallying, so this is the perfect storm at the moment. So nice ADR hit to the downside. You've got an RSI extension on this as well, so I will be getting into a long on this on the next 5-minute reversal alert. Beautiful support. We've got a secondary support coming up from 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So we've got 2 weeks support. We've got this old monthly level, which has already acted as a support level. That is the low of last week. We had a very tight contracted week last week. So decent level this for potential bounce. And then obviously we've got a backup down there. We've had no profit take whatsoever now. So if we continue down to this level, fantastic. It's going to pull back on that at some point back into propulsion. So I'll be getting in along on that one. So drop down 5 minutes, wait for the reversal alert, which is going to be fairly tight today at the moment. So nice tight reversal alert, about 25 pips. New Zealand dollar yen, obviously we know the yen's been a little bit weak and New Zealand dollar is strong. So again, perfect storm. This one's screaming away. Good short opportunity. You would have got into shorts on this yesterday if you're trading H1 RSI extension. Mean reversion, you would have got a short on that yesterday. In fact, you would have been short from there. Might have been out on that. Unlikely, actually. So you're probably in this anyway at the moment from that extension. That would have been an add-on yesterday. And it's rallying. So 125 ADR to the upside. Again, no profit take move on this at all yet. So good RSI, good ADR extension and RSI extension on the hourly. RSIs is pretty much everything, isn't it? So we'll have a look through everything this morning. We might as well just whiz through the entire FX market because everything is extended. Right, so let's have a look at what DAX is up to. Got to go into super zoom in mode to be able to actually make head or tail of anything today. Probably going to come down and do the gap fill. See where we go. Morning, Evans. Morning, Funded in a Week. Is there a definition of a fundamental market shift? No, not really. I mean, a fundamental market shift is just a fundamental news event that causes a shift in sentiment in the market. That's basically it. When I say fundamental market shift, I mean we had a fundamental news event. So the market, traders in general, decided to change their bias shift in a different direction. We were buying the US dollar. We are certainly not interested in buying it now. So that's the fundamental market shift. Just what I call it. I don't think it's a term widely used. It's just what I call it. And that's what these propulsion gaps are. So if you look at M.A. Perry's work on propulsion gaps, he only trades fundamental propulsion gaps, so news events. So these fundamental news events that cause these moves, those are the only ones he trades. He ignores all other propulsion gaps because if you return to them, and that's the play, when you return to these, you buy them because the market has decided now we want to go in that direction because the fundamentals should mean that that currency pair is going to trade now in that direction. If we get to that, it's a pullback long, basically. Fundamental shift. That is only if it returns to it, obviously. We don't know if it's ever going to return to it. Never get back there. DAX has broken along. 1R. US indices, the Dow is approaching pre-market highs and yesterday's high. So we got some resistance potentially with limit order triggers at the high there on the US markets. Obviously, if the US markets find resistance, that will hinder the DAX movement because they will sell off sectors. So need to just bear that in mind. How far will let a pair go if your larger position sizing does not work 5-6%? What? How will a pair go if your larger position sizing does not work? How far will I let a pair go? 3%, 4%, maybe. But that's when I'll do aggressive drawdown control. And obviously, aggressive drawdown controls have stops. But it's up to you. Again, it's all covered in the bootcamp. Everybody's got a different pain point. Your pain point is going to be different. So if you are uncomfortable at 1.5%, start doing drawdown control. I'm a little bit looser with my positions. I'm happy for things to go a bit more into drawdown. Don't forget, this is working capital. Yeah. This is a business we're running. This is our working capital. I'm 9% into my working capital. That's it. So if I start a business with £100,000, yeah, when I start the business, the first thing I'm going to do is spend some of that working capital. Yeah, this drawdown is just trades waiting to become profit. Yeah, you start a business with 100,000, you buy 50,000 in stock. Yeah, that 50,000 in stock is not lost. It's waiting to become profit when you sell it. Yeah, drawdown is waiting to become profit when the move completes. That's all it is. So how much you are willing, if you liken this to a retail business, how long are you willing to hold your stock for before you get rid of it? Keep, i.e. shut some of it out at a loss. So it's a business like any other business. You got to treat it like a business. Big outside bar. So this is an indecision candle. Buyers tried to win, sellers tried to win. Nobody took control. So we are now looking to see where we break. Same on all US markets as well. Bullish though, not bearish, which is good. Okay, just trying to get out the highs. There we go. Nice pop. New session high. New session high on the Dow. NASDAQ and the S&P struggling a little bit more, but S&P's just about broken out the highs. Monterey, morning. How did you import high-low historical data for Forex pairs mentioned in your ADR educational video into Excel? From investing.com. So if you go to investing.com and go to analysis, currencies, go away. Pick something, no matter what it is, and then you can download historical data. Yeah. So you go to historical data and you can download whatever you want, daily, weekly, or monthly data. So I downloaded the daily data to give me ADRs and then did all my mathematics from there. I think I might take one of these off at 1.5 bar. I'm going to give it another minute, maybe. I'm just watching the Dow bouncing off the session high and yesterday's high. I'm just worried about there being a big rejection on the US indices at that level, which will obviously stop the DAX in its tracks, but seems to be okay at the moment. I'm just going to take that off at 1.5. Dow's just what about this level here, look, on the Dow. So this is a previous start of that drop, which we hit and sold out of. We're just hitting it again. Obviously, all I'm seeing at the moment is upside rejection. Buyers are finding it very hard to make progress at the moment on the Dow. S&P is also rejecting. NASDAQ also looks like it's rejecting. So obviously, when you're looking at the DAX, if they start selling the US indices off, the DAX is going to find it hard to buy because there'll be sector purchasing going on in the US indices, which means they will be selling some of the Dow stocks as well, the DAX stocks as well. So what I don't want to do is run that gap fill and then pop long. So I'd rather just take the money off and break even on the second this morning. Just kind of need to get something in the bank because it's been a bit of a tricky week so far. Obviously, if this runs, it runs. That's fine. But I'm just conscious of what's going on in the US markets as well. Come back to that in a minute. Keep an eye on it over there. So ADRs we've done, RSIs, obviously there's tons to look at. So I think the best thing today is just we'll whiz through all the pairs from start to finish, start off at oil, and see where everything is. Have you ever heard of this EA developer? Valeria Mishenko? No. I don't know. I might have done. It sounds Russian to me. All the names sound the same, so I don't know. Oni Edouard? AJ Birch, what do I do for drawdown control? Go and watch the bootcamp. It's all explained on the website in the bootcamp. Obsolete stock write-off. What? Do you look at correlation between Forex pairs? Yep, all the time. When you take a trade, do you check if the pair you want to enter is correlated with some of the open positions? No. Everything moves independently. Right. FX. So oil. First, we'll start off with. Missed my target in oil by that much yesterday. So potentially today, we've obviously got 3:30 this afternoon. We've got oil inventories. So I am going to leave that one in place. And just bank that one, basically. The second entry is coming off up at these highs here. At the moment, that's my average, which is 150 ADR. So I'm not far away from average on this at the minute. This oil move is just bizarre. Even OPEC thought this is bizarre, which is why they've basically come out this week and said, why are you selling oil, guys? We've got a restriction in place. We've got demand increases. We've also forecasting higher demand. Why is it going down? And the market suddenly went, oh, yeah, and seemed to listen to OPEC. So it's just a much deeper pullback than I was expecting. We didn't get down to that level, which is good. So you can see that's where I'm stopping out on these lows. In fact, I'm not stopping out on those lows anymore. That's a ridiculous thing to do. I'm stopping out at break even. So wait and see what happens with it. Oil inventories, hopefully this afternoon, will give the market a bit more of a kick back up again. So we'll get this structure shift underway. We need to get through this balance area first. But obviously the forecasts are all $100 a barrel by Christmas. That's not going to happen, is it? Nowhere near the $100 a barrel by Christmas. But we should hopefully start to make some headway towards it. So we'll see where we go. So that's oil. Waiting to see what happens on that one. Franco, crazy day, did well because I was asleep. Good man. Woke up to a TP. Always good. James, regarding working capital. Oh, I see what you mean. Obsolete stock write-off. Okay, yeah. If the trade's not working out and you lose a loss. Yeah. I see your analogy, or my analogy that you're confirming. That's the trouble with chat. When you catch up on chat, you can't remember what you were talking about. And everybody's commented on stuff you were talking about, which is now completely gone out of my brain. Anyway, US dollar yen. So in this one, obviously the intervention, we had an attempted intervention on Monday, which stopped the market in its tracks, which is good. Did what it was intended to do, which was give them a little bit of a shock. And then obviously the CPI figures yesterday on the US did the job for them. So there's no real requirement for a Japanese intervention now, which means that the other yen stocks, the other yen pairs can do as they want. So looking basically for continuation short on this, but there's no real yen strength in the market at the minute. So the yen is still basically rallying away. So as long as the US dollar yen doesn't rally, there's no reason why any of these can't continue to just grind away. At some point, the Japanese will obviously get annoyed if it's continuously moving away, but the vast majority of their overseas purchases are in US dollar. So this is the one that they're interested in, and this is the one that is dropping at the moment. So we'll see what happens. This US dollar move from yesterday, if we get corrective figures today coming out on the PPI and retail, it could be a V-shaped recovery we're looking at, in which case then obviously there could be a further intervention on the cards for the yen. So we've just got to wait and see. It's too early to tell. We've had one big propulsion move. Fantastic. It's what we were expecting. We had one there. We had one there. We've got to wait and see. So at the moment, this US dollar, they're holding it, which is good. It hasn't pulled back very much at all. So this is potentially looking like it could just be a flag break today. But we'll wait and see. So got one short on that, holding that short down into the lows. And I will get out down there. And until we break that low and we get confirmation that this range break is going short and this US dollar is going to short, still, the ends are a little bit undecided. So DAX needs a correction down. Maybe. Who told you that? You got an insider in a bank? DAX will do what the stocks say the DAX will do. US dollar Swiss, big extension to the downside. I have one long on this at the moment, was targeting propulsion. We continue to drop yesterday, so adding in again on the next reversal alert, basically. So US dollar Swiss, we've got this monthly low and that previous monthly high. So that was your previous level. That seems to be blown through. So we've got this huge area of balance here. So potentially anywhere in there, you'll be looking for some kind of resistance support, basically. DAX just pulling back a little bit at the minute, still kind of lagging. The US, the Dow is just had another go at getting out the highs, which is rejected again. So we'll see. We might be taking a run up. So yeah, US dollar Swiss, possibly. I mean, that low is not really relevant, is it? It's anywhere really down here is what we're looking at, which is 175 ADR. So we'll see where we go. I'll take an extra one on this one as required when we get the next reversal alert, which is going to be there. That might be too close, actually. 38. Yeah, that's too close. So I won't be getting in just yet, but we'll get in again as and when. So that's US dollar Swiss, nicely extended. US dollar CAD, obviously we've had the big drop on that one. Canadian dollar obviously will rally based on oil. So if oil does rally this afternoon, we've got the potential for a little bit of strength coming off of that Canadian dollar. If the US dollar gets more negative news, that could well collapse very, very quick. So again, we're coming down to decent levels on that shortly. We've got a couple of different levels that we can look at coming up. And then we've obviously got those previous highs, which is 200% of ADR, but we've got these propulsion gaps, which it looks like we're on our way to. But at the moment, we're not really confirmed that we're going short yet. Again, it could well just pull back. So nicely extended on the hourly, potential pullback into propulsion. And as I said, with all these propulsion moves from yesterday, if they are fundamental shifts underway, you'll be looking for these to be pretty sharp to jump back in on them. So if this is the market now shifting direction, they will add at that level. You won't get through it. If this is an knee-jerk reaction and we get positive PPIs this afternoon and positive unemployment figures, we could well be back up at origin. So we'll wait and see. New Zealand, US, same thing. One short on that one at the moment. Again, targeting the high, might even target that propulsion gap actually there. So I'm just going to, we got a little high there. So I'm going to target that propulsion gap. Just, you know, if this is going to be a move for the US dollar to the downside, I don't want to go with big targets. See where we go. New Zealand dollar obviously is rallying like a lunatic at the moment. So, yeah, all of these are going to need some kind of pullback. RSI extension, again, above the 80 level there. Yeah. We should get a pullback on it at some point soon, but there's no reason for the yen to power up at the moment. New Zealand dollar Swiss extended above RSI as well. So again, we're hitting a nice level here. No reason why that won't come and retest that high. So you can wait for a reversal on this one. That's a pretty nice level, actually. Look. So that area was supportive. Then broke through it. Resistive. We've just tried to get through and failed. So look for a little pullback play, potentially for a run up. And New Zealand dollar CAD, that's obviously flying at the moment. One short on that. Again, going to target top of propulsion on it. It's not really enough profit. Target top of propulsion, and obviously we'll scale into that and move targets up as and when. So nicely extended. And again, all these RSI extensions, yeah, normal RSI extensions, we would expect pullback plays. This is not a normal RSI extension. This is potentially a fundamental shift, in which case that RSI extension is just going to go into an accumulation and RSI will reset and then push again. Yeah, so RSI, obviously, relative strength of a currency pair is totally irrelevant when a fundamental is in play. Yeah, normal movement causes market structure. Fundamentals causes the market to change direction long term. So these aren't necessarily all going to play out easily, which is why I said, watch your exposure. Don't get into too much on the same currency. That's New Zealand dollar CAD. I'm long term on yen against almost everything. Yeah, you could be fine with those. They'll all pull back. We need some yen strength though, and this is the thing that we've now not necessarily going to need yen strength. Oh, yeah, this is trouble. So that yen play where this is why I turned the EA off on all yen pairs, because I didn't want to get overexposed on the yen. If the intervention move was coming, happy days. But if the intervention move isn't coming, it's only the US dollar yen they're worried about, because the vast majority of the Japanese wealth is based in US dollar overseas bonds and exports. So if the US dollar comes down, they're more than happy. There's no need to liquidate. Big rejection on the Dow. Out of the DAX. So there's limit order triggers to the pip. Limit orders triggered at yesterday's high. That's what I was worried about. So we'll see if the market's got enough to rally back into this now. But all the markets rejecting with the Dow at the moment. So probably just a pullback for a new leg up, but we'll see. We need to break that high on the Dow. Yeah, so see. Do you think PPI this afternoon can temper yesterday's move? Yeah, absolutely. Fundamentals is what drives the market. Yeah. If the PPI figures, don't forget this, like I said yesterday afternoon in the New York session yesterday, these are all red. But look at it. They are all red by a 0.1% variation, 0.1% variation, 0.1% variation. These are tiny, 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 tiny misses on forecast. They were forecasting it to be roughly here. Yeah. The market has factored in those prices and they missed them by 0.1. The deviation is tiny. This is a massive, massive knee-jerk reaction to a very, very tiny fundamental. They're calling, oh, we're suddenly going to drop our interest rates in May. We're not going to wait until October next year. No. A little bit too keen, market. I think you might be overreacting slightly. If these figures come out as positive and the retail sales are driven up, this could well just all undo this afternoon. Yeah, because these fundamentals will counter those fundamentals. Yes, these are the most important, second most important fundamental we've got. But that was a huge reaction yesterday. I don't think necessarily the market is going to be able to sustain any more selling on the US. If we get any positive figures this afternoon, we could well undo the whole thing. Or at least start the retracement, so, stick a fib on it. There's your propulsion move. There's your 50% retracement. If we're going to continue the move, we will start market structure. Market structure will require a pullback. That pullback will be 38 to 50% retracement, or if it's going to be deeper, 61.8 into that previous support. Yeah, so, but it's going to take something to do it. It needs news to do it. So equally, if they all come out as negatives this afternoon, we'll be down there somewhere, probably another 150, 200% ADR. No idea. Wait and see. The good thing is we don't care. We're in positions. So those positions will have pullbacks in them. So we just need to get out in the pullbacks. Definitely need at least some yen strength. Yes. Will. DAX rallying back up. 3-bar reversal going in at the moment. Dow has just completely smashed through those highs it rejected. So I was a little bit overcautious on that. But yeah, they're through. So upside potential is pretty much unlimited today. We can go where we like. US dollar yen is coming down at the moment. The only reason I know that is because I've got another position on over there and I've just seen the P&L get better. So US dollar yen's dropping. Pounds, obviously the pound US dollar obviously had the rally yesterday off the back of the US news. Massive extension. You know, when you look at RSI extensions, you know, anything above the 80 level, it's very, very rare. You don't, or anything below the 20 level, it's rare that you don't get that pullback move. Yeah, that's why we use it, because it tells you the banks and institutions are overextended on a currency pair. Therefore, they're going to profit take that move at some point. This, as I said, these are a lot of these ones you're seeing here where we get up to these sorts of levels. They're caused by news. And if it is going to be a continuation on the US dollar weakness, we're not going to potentially undo that entire thing. However, they will still pull back on it. So when you get these moves started, half of this will be corporate, half of it will be speculative. So, or not half of it. So a percentage of it will be corporate, commercial desk trading. Percentage of it will be market maker trading. Percentage of it will be speculative and prop trading. So that percentage of speculative and prop will want to get out of that move to bank it, because their job is to make money. The rest of it is to invest. So this is why we get the market structure movement, because the speculative guys are taking their part out again after they've put it in. The corporates aren't. So we're waiting for a pullback on this one. Pound New Zealand's weekly range just hit. So yeah, I've got one short on this at the moment. I'd probably look for something around about 50% retracement on it. This one should be able to pull back a little bit further than the other US pairs because of that news on the pound this morning. Obviously, the pound CPI figures have come out as a negative. Same as the US is negative. CPI drops are negative. So we'll see if we can get a move on this one. You know, looking for a 50% retracement over a couple of days. However, today, obviously, we've got the other US dollar news. So if that US dollar news comes out as a positive, that will be down there, no problem at all. If it comes out as a negative, we're probably going to accumulate up here, which means I probably need to add another position. But at the moment, that one's started moving nicely. Pound New Zealand, out way too soon on that yesterday. Didn't foresee any. There's no reason for this New Zealand dollar move. It's just they've decided to pile into it big style. So we've looked at this one already because it's an ADR hit, but nicely extended to the downside. So looking for a retracement back up into propulsion. This obviously is not US dollar. It's not a US dollar cross. So we've had negative pound news. So I can see this hitting 150 ADR. That would be the ideal spot for a long, but it could well just bounce off this area here, which is what it's done multiple times before. So good long opportunity, Pound New Zealand. All the yen pairs, really difficult at the moment. Obviously, the pound yen just had negative news. But as you can see, all the yen pairs basically are longs. Yeah, we've been in an uptrend on these for a long time. The yen is still weak. You know, there's still no reason why we should be seeing massive strength coming in this yen. So we're just looking for normal pullbacks on it. What we were hoping for was obviously the US dollar to give us a hand. That seems to have been scuppered yesterday. So all these yens basically nicely extended on the hourlies, nicely extended on the 4 hourlies, just normal pullbacks. So potentially that could continue up. Again, depends what happens with the pound. If that pound CPI figure is going to be backed up by unemployment numbers, again, we could see a sustained drop starting in the pound. Don't forget, all of these key fundamentals that we're looking at are all potentially terminal rates. These inflation figures are what is causing these to happen, which is causing the currencies to rise. As these are now getting to points where we are sustaining negative numbers and we're getting better negative numbers than anticipated, that will speed up the drop of these, because if they don't drop these quickly, this goes down too far. If this goes down too far, we go into recession, which means that everything goes badly in the opposite direction. So they've got to drop these quick. You know, this is why the market suddenly said yesterday, we're going to drop rates faster. The first thing that you think is if this comes down too quick, you've got to slow it by dropping that faster. We were forecast to do it towards the end of next year. Same with the pound. So the pound is at terminal rate. The US dollar we now know is at terminal rate. So there's only one way to go for both of those. So is yesterday the start of that? That's the question. We don't know. Same for the pound. This morning's CPI figure didn't just hit target, it exceeded target. So all good. So I've still got the DAX running over there. I didn't take profit on it, and it's just missed target. It's just about to get it. I'm spread away from hitting target. There you go, TP. So there's TP2 hit on the DAX. If you didn't close it manually, which I didn't on that one, so that's hit target. So yeah, there's pound yen, pound Swiss. Pound Swiss is very, very sideways at the moment. There's no extensions on this. We did just about get 75 on it yesterday, but not quite. So no entry on that. Sideways, really, at the moment. As I say, we need to see if this pound is going to be sustained. If we see market structure now shifting back down to the downside, we break that low. We should be looking for shorts on things against the pound. But obviously, it doesn't mean you can't long it. Just means it's more likely going to come down. You just need to play those pullbacks. But again, still no bias on it. So either way on that one. Pound CAD coming down nicely at the moment. Hopefully get a target on that one. Probably come back down a little bit further, but I'll going for the propulsion gap. I'm going to need oil this afternoon to rally, ideally. So if we can't get there on the pound weakness alone, I'm going to need oil to rally this afternoon to give that a bit of a kick. But that was obviously huge extension, RSI. Pound odd coming down nicely, back down into propulsion. So it's just going to come and retest ADR, which is that previous low. There's no real directional bias. You can see it doesn't matter which way you get into this. There's exits all over the place. So just take any RSI extension. There's no advantage either way on the pound odd at the moment. Euro US dollar extended to the upside. Second entry taken this morning. Crikey, that's a long way away. 146. So that's 2 ADR between entries. I hate it when you use that. Obviously, there was no way to get into a second entry on this one yesterday because there was no structure break. So that's 2 ADR, which is way bigger than I like to scale into positions, because as soon as you get in 2 ADR apart, you've got to get over an ADR just to break even on the position, which makes it a lot more difficult to get out of. So nothing I can do about it at the moment. I will probably go for a small target on this one. And just try and get out if we can get down to a bounce here. Don't think we've got any Euro news coming up, have we? No. There's no Euro news this week. It's all US dollar this week. So kind of reliant on this US dollar getting a little bit of positive news, really, to get out of this one. But nothing to do about it at the moment. Massive extension, obviously, on the RSI. That'll be extended on the 4 as well, above the 80 level. And again, the 80 levels, very rare. We don't get that big move. Oh, nice little pop on the US indices then at highs. Euro New Zealand, massive extension. The downside, obviously, we've had this big, strong push on the New Zealand dollar. So it's not quite extended on the 4 hour, but hourly, you are just about to get an extension. So I've exited all of the short positions this morning, and I'll be looking to flip long and get back out on a pullback. So it's not quite extended enough yet, but 5-minute reversal is going to be there. So you could take it off the 70 extension. I prefer to wait for the 75, but yeah, that will need a pullback up into that propulsion gap. And again, this is caused by the US dollar. So this one could undo because they piled into the New Zealand dollar off the US dollar drop yesterday. But, you know, any kind of euro news is going to trump that and just take it straight back up there. So this could easily fill that gap. When you get fundamental news that causes a propulsion gap, but that fundamental news is not related to the currency pair, it's fair game. Yeah, because a push in the euro right now has got nothing to do with what caused that move, which was the US dollar. If this was the euro US dollar, however, that would be a lot more difficult to fill because we're expecting the US dollar to drive in one direction or the other. So yeah, good looking opportunity for longs on that one. Euro yen extended to the upside and embedded on the hourly. So nice short opportunity there. But again, you know, there's no reason why this can't continue to go that way. If the US dollar does drop and continue to drop, the yen will automatically get a little bit of strength anyway, because there'll be less investment in the US dollar and they will tend to drive more money on safe haven runs. When you're in a fear and greed market, when you're in fear, money flows into the US dollar, the yen, and the Swiss franc typically. If you remove one of those, i.e. the fundamentals are shifting short on the US dollar, you want to put your money somewhere safe. You're going to put it more in the Swiss franc and the yen than the US dollar. So the yen will automatically get a slight increase in power if the US dollar drops. But we haven't got confirmation of that yet. So just normal market structure on these. These yens, say, they're a little out of control at the moment. Yen is very, very, very weak. But, you know, as long as you're getting pullbacks, you'll get exits. It's just this one for 2 weeks. You haven't had anything on it, have you? Really? Screaming to the upside. So that's ready for a profit take move on that entire leg. So you'd be looking for a retracement back into that propulsion gap. Euro pound, sideways mess. If you can get into it, get into it. I haven't been able to get into this for, I haven't been in it since August. Just not been an entry. Just has not got extended at all. Just euro and pound, close trade partners, tiny ADR. It's only got an ADR of 38, hardly ever moves. So nothing. Euro Swiss. Again, we're coming out of a kind of 2 week, week and a half area of balance at the moment. Just had a structure break to the downside. Be looking for these propulsion gaps to get filled to the downside, but it hasn't had an RSI extension for me to take a short on it yet. So anywhere down into these propulsion gaps, I think. And obviously we've got all these highs and this accumulation, which we're selling out of at the moment. So just some kind of pullback on that. And then obviously it can decide which way it goes. Bear in mind, obviously, the Swiss franc, if there is any escalation with the Israel conflict, that will affect the Swiss franc, and we could have a rally in the Swissy. So obviously these moves were caused by conflict. So as I say, fear and greed. When we go into holy crap, what's going on? We buy the Swiss franc, the yen, and the US dollar typically. So there's lots of reasons why this could power up, but there's no euro news, and euro and Swiss move together. Again, ADR on this is 38. It's a very, very small ADR pair. Doesn't move an awful lot. So you can take it in any direction. Euro CAD, 2 shorts on this one at the moment. Oh, look, that's just bounced off of a level I put in. Where's that? Quite sure what that level is. That must be off of another chart. That's not a level that I've drawn in on this chart anyway. So yeah, EuroCAD, nice extended to the upside. Obviously, big extension on this one. Canadian dollar and the US dollar move in tandem. So when we get weakness in the US dollar, we get weakness in the Canadian dollar. That's caused a massive spike in that one, obviously, against the CAD. The CAD will move independently, though, based on oil moves as well. So hoping that we get some strength on that one this afternoon. Average is there, just looking for a pullback, basically. So I'm just going to adjust targets on this one. Go for that high. So we've got these propulsion gaps. That one's been retested. That one there has been retested as well. We've got all these propulsion gaps to the downside, which eventually we'll probably get to, but I'll be looking for that high, basically, which is last week's high, to get retested, because they'll probably find some limit orders triggering down there. And Euro odd. So got 2 sells on this one at the moment. Target in middle of that propulsion gap at the minute. So if this Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar strength continues, there's nothing for the euro news-wise coming up. So hopefully we just continue to just pump down into that target down there, middle of that propulsion gap. Got a nice propulsion gap there as well, which is that high break, which we haven't tested yet. So there is potential for that to come all the way down to 150 ADR. Tomorrow morning, we've got Australian dollar news with the unemployment rate. So we're forecasting an increase in unemployment tomorrow. If we get a 3.6 on that instead of a 3.7, we're going to get a big push in the Australian dollar. So that euro odd will come down very fast. So tomorrow morning, we've got potential for a rally on that. The unemployment in the for the Aussie came down last time. So they're forecasting basically unemployment to have gone up. So if we get a forecast on that even, so if we get 3.7, that might be good, because it went up last time. So difficult, but I'd much rather if you get 3.6 on it, definitely we're going to get a rise on the Aussie. So we'll see. So we might have an ADR hit on that one tomorrow, but we have got Australian dollar news coming up. So this just flip-flops around here today. Hopefully that will hit TP on the news tomorrow morning. If not, obviously it will go back up and I need to scale in which case it's just going to leave more propulsion gap targets to the downside for any kind of euro news to aim for. So that's your euros. Swiss yen, same as all the other yens at the moment, all very, very weak. CAD yen, not quite as bad, because the Canadian dollar's been weak off the back of the US dollar, and it's been weak off the back of oil. So obviously this one's kind of gone more into a range. But yeah, got target down there in that propulsion gap, but we need some yen strength. So no extensions on this. No reason you would really be in that one. And CAD Swiss, got multiples on this. So I've been in this for a while now. This is my biggest drawdown pair at the moment. So we got this A-shaped recovery off of that high. So I got out the shorts there. I exited some of these longs up there. So I've taken profit on some of this already. This low that we're at right now is kind of where I'm expecting to get a rally from. And I was looking at taking an aggressive drawdown control position on this one this morning. But I decided to wait and see what happens at these lows, because we were accumulating at the lows. We have actually broken through them now, but we are pulling back up again. So the fact that we've got oil this afternoon, if we do get a rally off of oil this afternoon, there's a good chance that this is going to have a nice ADR day. If we get positive news off of the PPIs and the unemployment this afternoon for the US dollar, this is going to get a rally. So there's multiple reasons why this will rally today. So I'm looking at potentially taking an aggressive drawdown control position on this. But I was going to wait until we get that high broken and then use that as the stop. So it's quite a high risk aggressive drawdown control position, but I want to give it a lot of room to wiggle, because we've got lots of news coming up this afternoon. I don't think we're going to get that break though before the news. So at the moment, my average is 225 ADR, which is a hell of a long way away. But this is at a very, very good spot from an RSI extension perspective and a support resistance perspective. So looking for a push back into this area on this one. The Swissy obviously will be moved with the euro. We've got no news on that. We do know we've got news on the CAD. So I'm going to have to start to scale out of some of this, because it's just over 3% in drawdown at the moment. off of 6 positions. So not quite. I should have got out there. I had an exit there, which was a tiny profit, but I was expecting this balance to push us back up, and we didn't get it. What we actually got was Middle East conflict and Swiss franc strength. So nothing you can do about that. So that one, stuck at the moment on CAD Swiss. Aussies, obviously, all rallying at the moment. We've got lots of strength on the Australian dollar at the minute. They pulled out of the US and put a lot of it into the Aussie and New Zealand yesterday. So DAX is rallying. We're over a 3R now on the DAX. Locking in a further 2R. So if you're still in the DAX and you've still got a runner running like I have over there, I've just locked in that second position at 2R. It's on its way to target, which is 5R. Let me just quickly look at where we're going on. Remind me where I got to, the Aussies. Right, okay, so this is that propulsion gap target. Gap fill. So there's a gap fill done, propulsion. So the high of that propulsion gap is the accumulation break. So that is your resistance to the upside, the top of that gap. I'm just going to lock a bit more in on it, actually. 250. Locking in 25 points. So I've got a 25-point trailer running on it, which is basically that sort of distance. So it's these 2 candles. I'm just going to trail that. So I'll give it a bit of accumulation room if it's going to continue. So this sort of thing. Yeah. Flag, basically. I'm going to let it flag and potentially break. If it flags and then breaks down, obviously I'll get out. So, but it's running really nicely at the moment. Nice clean break today. About time we had a clean break on the DAX. We haven't had one for a couple of days. Right, Aussies. Yeah, so nice resistance area coming up on the Aussie CAD. We've got obviously lots of news events coming out. Aussie US. So we've got, for the US, we've got PMI and unemployment this afternoon. And then for the Aussie, we've got unemployment tomorrow morning. So this could be back down here literally tomorrow morning. Yeah, if we get strong US numbers this afternoon, we're going to do that. If we then get weak Aussie numbers tomorrow afternoon, we're going to do that. So potential for that to come off of this high. I've got one sell on it. Top of propulsion again, watching that area there. So conservative. I'm just, all these US dollars that I've got on, I'm just being cautious. I don't want to go for the A-shaped recovery. I'm going for, let's see if we can get a 50% retracement, because that's probably achievable. But equally, if this US dollar is going to continue to rally, continue to drop, if I can get a pullback and then it rallies, I'm out, aren't I? So just being a bit careful with them. Aussie New Zealand came down very, very hard. So the New Zealand dollar in control at the moment of the Australasian pairs. So they put much more into the New Zealand than they did the Aussie yesterday, as you can see. Coming back down into that support, we came straight out of that propulsion gap and it's still dropping. So you've got a long opportunity here on the Aussie New Zealand. So there's a long coming up. We're looking at this being the fill. So I got out of the shorts there last week. Perfectly timed, 50% retracement, pushing down, look for a pullback, drop, potentially back down into here. And then once we get back down into there, we're potentially going to push back up on an up leg. I don't know what we're going to do, but that's what I see. So don't know where this is going, but I will be entering longs on it if it pushes any further. So if we break these lows, I'll be getting in long, and then I'll scale in on the way down to there and look to get out on an up leg. Aussie yen out the sky at the moment. Obviously yen weakness, Aussie dollar strength. So that one's pushing very hard. You've got RSI extensions on that, so you will be getting into shorts If you took that one, I wouldn't have got in on that, I don't think, but if you did, you're out anyway. So yeah, your first entry on that would have been yesterday, and obviously you'd be looking to target somewhere down here. Aussie Swiss, not doing anything at the minute. So had longs and shorts on Aussie Swiss, as you can see. So got out of all the longs there, got out of all the shorts there. Difficult to tell where this is going. This is going to be obviously driven tomorrow morning by the news, so it could go either way tomorrow. There's no RSI extensions. There's no reason to get into that one. Aussie CAD, one short. I'll go with a fairly decent target on this one because so that obviously looking at high RSI extension. Canadian dollar, oil this afternoon, Aussie dollar tomorrow. Potentially we'll be back down there tomorrow morning. But equally, weak oil numbers, Aussie CAD up. Better than expected unemployment, Aussie CAD up. So if both news events go against me, blimey, got to go out to the 4-hour chart to find resistance. If both news events go against me, we're going long. So a bit difficult. That high there, which is a previous support resistance area, which I've got on the chart, is at 150 ADR. So that'll be a scaling point for a second entry. And then we'll need to get out on that move if we're going to continue to run up to the highs. So there you go. There's all your pairs. Loads of movement. We haven't had an RSI dashboard like this, I think, probably for months, have we? We're kind of getting back to volatility, which is lovely. We haven't had any. It's been very, very contracted, as you would expect with interest rates being frozen as they are. So yeah, it's good. Got some movement, which means there's opportunity, which is nice. DAX is just pulling back a little bit in the last 5 minutes. So my stop is middle of that propulsion gap. So as long as we do an inside bar, I shall still be in it. US dollar yen looks like that's still coming down a little bit. Good. Right, let me catch up on the chat. What's your view on Euro odd? Already done that. I'm short at the moment, so just looking for a push down into there. It's in profit. So tomorrow, I mean, basically, if this gets down to target today, I'm out. If it doesn't get down to target today, obviously, I'm at the mercy of the Australian dollar unemployment figure tomorrow. So, any reason why you didn't take the US dollar CAD? There was no RSI extension when the reversal alert triggered. That's a broker candle there. So there was no reversal alert. Obviously, the EA will only trigger when it has an extended condition and a reversal alert. There wasn't one. So it didn't get me in. MRA EA, is there a way to limit exposure as you do on the bootcamp videos? No. That's your job. That's gapping up, yeah. Franco, my trades are cooking. Have to have faith in yourself. Good night. He's off. He's made his money. He's off to bed. Whereas I'm just waking up. Trying to anyway. Right. What's oil doing? Coming down. Oh, that's a nasty head and shoulders forming, isn't it? Which is good. Because if we can break that neckline today, it means that everybody's going to go short. If everybody goes short, it's going to go long, which is good. So hopefully they're just enticing all the shorts in now. So everyone's going to go, quick, short oil. We've got oil inventories. as retail does, because they're stupid. Right, that's all I got for you today. Yeah, there we go. How many positions are you in? That many. AJ Birch, I love you. Say fish and chips, mate. Fish and chips, mate. Do you want me to say it in an Australian accent? Fish and chips, mate. I can only do Australian and English because I'm English and I can do an Australian accent. Everything else. Sorry. I spent 3 months in Australia and became an Australian. And then I went to New Zealand. And that confused the hell out of me because they all speak Australian, but it's not. It's New Zealandish. Right. Continuation seems to be underway on the US dollar, apart from US dollar Swiss and US dollar CAD. Actually, no, tell a lie. It's very difficult to tell at the moment because everything's moving. Euro US dollar is coming down. So it seems there is a little bit of strength in this US dollar. The yen is strengthening up a little bit as well. Potentially. Very, very, very hard to actually tell what's moving when you've got markets extended like this. Because normally you can, if you see something moving, you can flick between all the yen pairs, for example, and go, oh, look, the yen's powerful. But at the moment, there's so much moving. Everything you look at is kind of moving independently. So it's very hard to pick a direction on anything. You just got to wait for the market to calm down a little bit and relax. So this CAD Swiss, that's a really good rejection on that CAD Swiss. I might take an aggressive on this. So we've literally just, this monthly level here and that propulsion gap, we've brought that propulsion gap back up. This monthly level is holding. This is a double monthly low. There's a lot of reasons the market would buy this level. We've just pushed down into it and rejected it. And obviously we've got oil inventories this afternoon. We've got all the US news this afternoon. If that US news comes out as expected or above forecast, we will get some kind of movement on the CAD as well. So this looks like a good spot to take an aggressive. We've just had a reversal alert trigger. Oh, no, we haven't, actually. We are just about to get a reversal alert trigger on M5. M15 is a little higher. So I might use the M15 reversal alert as an entry on this. So this will be 3.5-ish. Which is just over 1% risk. Just under, sorry. I'd call it 1%. It's 1% risk. So going to take an aggressive drawdown control position on that 15-minute reversal alert. If we push down further today, I'll drag that down and I'll get in on the next 15-minute reversal alert, basically roughly 1% risk. But that will bring my average down nicely on this. I need to get the average down. It's well out of control, this one. So that'll bring the average down sort of into this area. And then if we get decent oil inventories and decent US PPI, the PPI will be triggering this. So basically the PPI figures and retail come out before oil. So if the US dollar rallies, obviously that will get me into the trade. And then if oil inventories help oil prices, that will bolster the trade. So it gives me an opportunity to get in and out. Just about to get out of the DAX second position. My stop's in the middle of there. So hopefully this is just a flag break. But it is reversing. US indices trying to roll over as well a little bit. Look. It's annoying. Very annoying. Anywho, right, that's all I've got. Can we have a section of the stream where Lee does requested phrases and accents? No, because I can only do 2. And it's debatable whether I can do 2. Is Australia your favourite country? No, New Zealand. I went travelling for 10 months. Funnily enough, I happened to pick the tsunami year, and I was in Thailand when the tsunami hit in Boxing Day. So yeah, I did 10 months travelling. So I went all around the world, basically. Not all around the world, obviously. I went around the world for 10 months. But New Zealand is my favourite current country I went to. Actually, it's difficult to tell, actually. Australia is amazing. I've got relatives in Australia, in Perth. New Zealand is just amazing. I can see why they filmed all the Lord of the Rings stuff there. It's just the most amazing country. But Thailand was amazing. Cambodia was amazing. America was obviously good. Hong Kong, Singapore, everywhere I went was fantastic. But the only accent I picked up was Australian because I spent a couple of weeks with my godmother who lives in Australia. So I actually lived in Australians' houses. And it's one of those accents. I can see why everybody that goes to Australia from any country suddenly becomes Australian within a year or so. They just start talking an Australian accent because it's very similar to English. Obviously, it's English. But it's just an infectious one. So, don't know. Out of the Dow, DAX, short. Long, God, get it right. So I'm out of the second half of the DAX. So 2R first half on the break, second half just under 3R. So nice one today. Could have had 4R out of it. Nice break. You only ever visited those countries as a visitor? Yeah, I didn't live there. I only just travelled. My favourite is England. Really? I was on the verge of moving to Australia. I didn't have any reason to get in there. You needed to either have a load of money or you needed to have a job that they wanted. And they didn't want me at the time. I would have moved to Australia. Although my wife is not particularly keen of spiders, and obviously they have a slight spider problem. Multiple variations of slight spider problems. I got bitten by a spider on my thumb. It bit my thumb. Hurt a lot. And it wasn't even a venomous one. Well, it was a venomous one, but it wasn't a deadly one. Thank God. Lived in New Zealand for 2 years. Yeah. Brilliant place. Yeah, I spent... how long did I spend in New Zealand? 4 weeks, I think. I spent 4 weeks in New Zealand. 2 in the north, 2 in the south. Did Tasmania as well. Went to Tassie. Part of Australia, little island where they have Tasmanian devils that can break your bones with their jaws. They've got... Animals in Australia really are not compatible with human beings. Literally everything in Australia wants to kill you. Literally. The flies. We drove from Adelaide all the way up to Ayers Rock on the Stuart Highway, which has got no speed limit, which is fantastic. Just floor it. Brilliant. But there was a dead kangaroo. Or was it a cow? I think it was a cow, actually. There was a dead cow at the side of the road. And we were looking as we were driving up the Stuart Highway at about 160 kilometres an hour. And we saw this thing coming. So I slowed down. And we suddenly realised it was a cow. Then we saw this other thing in the middle of the road, which we couldn't work out what it was. And we got closer and closer. And this thing in the middle of the road got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the smell hits you. The smell of dead animals in Australia is like, you can tell a dead animal's coming from a mile away. They just cook. But this thing got bigger and bigger and bigger in the middle of the road. And as we got closer to it, it was a vulture. I'm not joking. This vulture came up to my chest. A bird with a beak like that. Yeah, and it was eating a cow. And if you break down on that Stuart Highway, it's at least a full tank of gas, pretty much. No, no, it's not at least. It's just under a full tank of gas between petrol stations. So if you break down out there, there's no one coming to get you. You might get the occasional road train, but they don't stop. Nobody stops in the outback either, because occasionally you get cars. We saw cars broken down at the side of the road with Aboriginals next to them. They said, do not stop for anybody, because if the animals don't kill you, the people will. But yeah, good place to live, Australia. I'd much rather go to New Zealand. Nothing against any Australians, but yeah, I prefer countries where the entire country isn't trying to kill you. There you go. There's a little anecdote from my travels. Right. So other than that, I'm just going to watch everything here today. So US dollar yen, still short, still going, which is good. Oil is my main focus today, and CAD Swiss, which are both obviously oil related. So the 15-minute reverse alert is actually the same as the hourly today, look. So I'll be getting in, when we confirm that tail is actually buyers that are going to sustain a move, I shall try and get a little bit more long on that. But waiting around for the news, really. So I doubt whether we'll get a massive movement today ahead of PPI. So 1:30 this afternoon is when we're going to get everything kicking off. All right. So I'll be back this afternoon for the US session at 2:20. We'll trade the US indices, see how we've got on with the news today. Yeah, and see where we go from there. All right. So have a good morning. If you need anything, I'll be in the Telegram group. Other than that, I'll be back this afternoon. If not, tomorrow morning, 7:50 for the Frankfurt session. So have a good day.